Welcome to Culturenomics with Arjun. The show aims to unravel the layers of the fintech sector and the rapidly evolving tech startup ecosystem across the MENA region and beyond. I am your host Arjun, and I will be inviting founders, executives, investors, regulators, and other influential stakeholders to discuss and dissect the highs and lows of their own ventures and how they foresee the wider ecosystem evolve. Join us as we celebrate success and the spirit of risk-taking, the candid discussion that goes past the timid question and cautious answers. This show is produced in collaboration with Adyan, a reliable end-to-end payment solution that enables businesses to turn payments into a strategic growth driver. We're also brought to you by Lulu Financial Group, a global financial services provider headquartered in Abu Dhabi and operating in 11 countries. Finally, Culturenomics with Arjun Singh is brought to you by M2P Fintech, Asia's leading payment infrastructure company that enables businesses of any scale to embed financial products. Welcome to today's episode of Culturenomics with Arjun Singh. I'm your host, Arjun. Today I'm joined by Olivier Crespin, who is co-founder and CEO of Zand, a native digital bank which is imminently launching in the UAE. In addition to being the CEO of the bank, he's also a GP at a venture capital fund called TGV4, which invests in a number of blockchain-based companies. With that, I'd like to welcome Olivier. Olivier.
Thank you for having me here. It's already a pleasure to be with you, Arjun.
Excellent. And I hope you're comfortable on the couch.
Very comfortable, yes.
All right.
Cannot be better than that.
Thanks a lot. Olivier, we have 25 to 30 minutes. So there's a lot to cover in the world of digital banking. It's a topic that I guess interests and enamors a number of people. And I guess since you guys are at the vanguard of digital banking, I'm sure everybody's going to tune in for this show. So I want to dive straight in, right? First question, I guess, simple and straightforward. Talk about the genesis of Zand. Where does it come from? What was the thing?
That's a great question, and many people are asking that. What is the genesis of a native digital bank in UAE?
Yeah.
I think if you look at the digital agenda of the country, it's pretty ambitious, right?
Yes.
And you have also emergence of many new digital players here in the country, native as well in this region. And you have also a lot of traditional corporate that are transforming themselves and becoming digital, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess understanding is that UAE will be able to support this new digital player or this traditional player who are converting themselves into digital on the financial side only if they are able to connect and plug with a digital native bank, which is leveraging analytics properly, latest technology, and speaks the same language as the new players.
No, I think that's an interesting point because and by no means am I taking the efforts of some of the incumbents away. But, over the last, I'd say, nearly 10 years, a number of incumbent banks have been launching, I don't know, call them pseudo-digital banks, right?
Yes.
And my experience having worked with a large conglomerate before I actually came into consulting was that whenever we were talking about digital transformation and we wanted to work with a number of our banking partners as a part of that digital transformation, we actually found that it wasn't that easy because they were not, as you say, natively digital, right? They were trying to, if in all due respect, give us a layer which was digital, but behind that sat the old sort of traditional bank. Nothing wrong with the traditional bank, but it's just an integrating with. But let me go on with this question. You're not going to be the only player in the market, right? So what's going to give you the right to win?
Right. So you see there are very area when we differentiate ourselves, right? So first of all, we compare with a traditional bank who are converting themselves into digital. And I've been doing that before. Yep. Like I launched a digital bank on top of an existing bank in India and in Indonesia and in Vietnam.
This was with DBS.
With DBS and CMB. One of the things, key things is that you have a legacy still. And the legacy may be not only technology, but mindset. And more important, traditionally you have an existing business already.
So cannibalization
is a key, I would say, blocker, right? To be able to go a little bit wide. Second area where I think we have a good differentiator here in the market is we have a very good ecosystem. So we have our shareholder is now public. So we have BLI Group in India, which is giving us access to many different kind of business internationally. Business. We have Franklin Templeton in the US, which is also a very strong shareholder to us, and we can partner in creating products together. We have Mr. Alabar from MR Group, founder. So we have Yusuf Ali from Lulu Group.
Incredible.
We have Halal Holding, which is Transguard. So a lot of business we can really leverage and work with.
So actually, you can really create an ecosystem.
We have an ecosystem from day one. And that's why when we say we don't define ourselves necessarily as a bank, but we define ourselves as a platform with a banking license.
Excellent.
I always say that if you want to build a digital bank, don't try to build a bank. Build a platform.
No, and I think that's a good idea because, it resonates with me. And I've said this in the show previously, I do not know which one, where I think Steve Jobs very famously back in the 1980s said people want banking, they don't want banks.
Yes, they want banking services and product, not banks. Yes. Yeah. So that's exactly what we do.
And that's a fairly impressive ecosystem now that I've had time to reflect. So even if you were able just to unlock the power of that ecosystem, I think it's a step.
Obviously, we need to unlock it. It's not captive, I would say, right? We need to have the right product and so on. But it's a fantastic ecosystem to be able to work with from day one.
Excellent. So obviously, the question then is, you're going to launch imminently. You have a very tremendous set of, shareholders, but partners. I think that's the more important bit.
Exactly, partners.
It's not just money. It's the businesses they bring along with it. So I'm going to ask you to paint a picture. We're going to put a crystal ball in front of you, which is not there, but you can imagine there is. Look ahead 5 years from today, right? What's the vision for Zand in 5 years from now? What does it look like? So
obviously, one of the key things is making sure the customer are happy. Right, that's obviously in 5 years, we really hope that customer will be happy because we'll have created value for them on everything we have created. We will have also expanded in other market. And in terms of product, we do a lot of product we are linked to ecosystem because we are able to understand when we have product linked to an ecosystem, for example, supply chain finance that we link to an ecosystem, we are able to provide the right rate to the client because we understand the ecosystem they are in. So that's on I would say, traditional side of the digital bank. But really our ambition is to go to address why we are here. Is also to be able to connect centralized finance and decentralized finance. There are a lot of new products coming up, and I think there is a huge opportunity of tokenization of private assets here in the market and how you can make them available to clients. And what I see when you look at the DeFi space right now, so you have a lot of product. For example, you can buy already commodity token, right? But if you want to buy that, it's not a simple experience. You need to be a gig in technology. So for example, you need to open your MetaMask, move it from Ethereum to Polygon. Then you need to go and do your KYC on Tokeny, and then you do your trading on the big one, right? So no private bank client, no client is going to go through that, or very few. So how we can simplify that, but at the same time bring trust into this. And working together with the central bank and the regulator, making sure that we are able to support this new kind of product. As well, how we can be a gateway between fiat currency and crypto and be able to deal with the exchange and be able to ensure that any crypto that is coming back and converting back into fiat, we have been able to assess where have they been going, have they been remaining in a approved exchange or not. If they have remained within approved exchange, we can convert them back. Otherwise, we'll not be able to. So a lot of new business are possible, and we are working on a few initiatives on that area.
So that's exciting, and that's exciting in terms of what I call, I I guess, the future of finance, right? In the sense that, to me, these demands are still latent, right? They're not fully revealed, right?
Yes, correct.
But if I just take a step back, right, and I come to the naive world of banking, which is what I am, right? I always have this statement, and again, it's not mine. I'm sure I borrowed it or I heard it somewhere, but I tend to use this quite often. UAE is arguably one of the most overbanked and underserved market.
Yes.
Right? Where's the focus of your banking going to be in terms of the segments that you're going to go after? So I get the whole decentralized to, the whole DeFi scene being the gateway between crypto and fiat. We're a few years away. And obviously you answered the question in terms of where you want to be in 5 years. But if I bring you back now to today or maybe tomorrow, which segments are you going to go after? What, where are the segments that you're going to be able to offer something that a customer is going to turn around and say, something, finally I have a bank which understands me. You use the word data, right? And is providing me products and services I need.
Yes. So we have a different kind of segment where we are going to do. The two big segments already is retail and corporate bank. So if you look at digital bank across the world, mostly is on the retail space.
Yep.
And sometimes they do SME business, but is very SME of one kind of company, which is very similar to retail in terms of product and so on. So on the retail space, we are going with obviously loans. We are going to remittance. Remittance is very important here, right? In this market, you have like more than 80% of the population is from overseas, so they need to remit money. So we'll come with a very quick turnaround, very good rates. So these are the people who are going to target as well. We'll have a good saving deposit rate in the account, and we will offer product, and it's going to be released, progressively, but products that we can fully digitalize. So, for example, a mortgage, we are not going to be able to fully digitalize. So, for the time being, we're not going to do it. But the day we can tokenize a mortgage, we are going to be able to offer it to client. So that's on the retail side. On the corporate side, we are targeting tier 1 and tier 2 corporate.
Okay.
Because we are going through what we call ecosystem link financing, which is a new way of doing supply chain finance. And we are going to go for both sides, the buyer, the anchor buyer, which is usually a tier 1 or tier 2 customer, corporate customer with big balance sheet, very big on, and their suppliers. So we are going to onboard tier 1 and tier 2 customer and the SME business, which are servicing this buyer. So the SME we are going to onboard, at least in the first couple of years, are only SME who are part of an ecosystem we understand. Not necessarily the SME who is crossing the street and coming to open an account, because here we really need a lot of data to be able to make them, to be able to assess them properly in terms of risk and be able to give them the better rate for them. So if they belong to an ecosystem, we know the transaction flow, the years of experience that they have been having, how have they been paying regularly, etc. And from there, we are going to be able to give them a fair rate, which is really relevant to them. So that's
interesting. Well, let me ask you a question. So, tier 1 marketplaces who have a number of SMEs trading on their platform.
Correct.
So therefore, they create the ecosystem. You go into ecosystem banking. If I may take the liberty, Noon, obviously part of one of the shareholder, makes perfect sense. And I can see how you're doing it. And there are some very interesting strategies in play, right? As in, I look at the whole Shopify embedded finance play where they're working with a bunch of banks, right? And actually, I'm shocked that last year they were rated as the second most, popular fintech. They're not even a fintech in the sense that they're not. But coming back to the Middle East, or coming back specifically to the UAE, a lot of your tier 1 customers, right, who have what I call an ecosystem, but it's a fragmented ecosystem, right? There's a massive challenge of a massive challenge of education, and these are the guys who are being banked by all the big ones, right? how?
So I'm
sorry, but like
yes.
that's a challenge.
So I tell you the story, and essentially, when we meet them, right, this tier 1, tier 2, they are really asking us, when are you starting?
Okay.
Because you know what is a big difference. First of all, we are not interested to take a big spread on them.
Okay.
Right? So we are okay with the fraction. When I've been in a traditional bank before, you go to see a big corporate and you see how I'm going to get 20% of the business, right? And the also big corporate is saying, this big bank is coming, and So even if you want to do partnership with telco and so on, everybody wants a big share, right? The big bank and the big telco, nobody wants to give up away anything. For us, we are okay to be a platform, as I say, a platform with banking license. When we say take a spread, right, on every transaction. Second very big differentiation is that nowadays, even the tier 1 and tier 2 corporate, when we go and meet them, we are very surprised. We meet the guys coming from Amazon because they are transforming themselves. So we have our guys coming from Google or Virgin Mobile, and they talk to this guy from Amazon, and they say, oh, wow, we can do this, we can do that, we can leverage the data this way. This is a kind of new product we can do. And these guys tell us, okay, when we see a traditional bank coming, they come with a sales guy. But it doesn't come with an idea how we are going to come up with new product together. So that's a big differentiation, and I think that's why there is really space for, again, a native digital data bank in this market.
That's actually, and I'm not agreeing with you because you're sitting on my show, but I do see, I do agree with you. Even in my world of consulting, what's actually changed. I was out of consulting for 5 years. I've come back in last year. What I've actually seen change is the audience which sits on the other side.
Correct.
Right? And the audience on the other side is different or is changing. I wouldn't say it's completely changed. It's changing. They are a lot more digitally native. I think they understand how you can bring multiple concepts together. So, banks don't always have to behave like banks, and, digital companies don't always have to behave like that. So, yeah, I do understand. But in the order of sequence, is the first intention really to focus on the marketplaces like Noon and really kind of set yourself up there because that's made to order, or you're agnostic? We
are agnostic. And in fact, we build our platform in a way to be able to plug pretty seamlessly, right, with any platform. And what a big differentiation is, as you know, right, when we are a digital bank, we are combining two DNA, right? And at the difference of traditional bank, I would say. Banking DNA that we don't want to compromise about risk management, financial expertise, trust, and compliance with regulations. That we don't want to compromise. But what we are bringing, which is different, or what traditional banks are trying to do, we are bringing the digital DNA, which is more about customer centricity. So the product you are going to be building on for the client, maybe tier 1 and tier 2, better leverage of analytics, because we build our foundation on analytics from day one, right? So it's much easier, to be fair, right? When you are a big bank that has been established for many years, if you want to have a super analytic platform, it's almost removing the building, re-putting an analytic platform, and
it's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
And the latest technology, right, on processing power, we have everything in the cloud, everything is Kubernetized, everything can be redeployed very quickly. So that gives us agility and to be able to have the element of digital players that really can support all this kind of player. It can be Noon.com, it can be Karim, it can be a lot of different players you have in this region.
So let's take a step back, right? You've obviously been in digital banking for a long time. You've worked with some of the best banks. You've done traditional banking. You've taken traditional banks digital. Now you're actually running a digital bank. If I take a step back, I've lost count. We have 300 plus or minus digital and neobanks, and some of them are different in their model, especially in the ones in the US where don't have balance sheets and licenses, yes. Right? But with the risk of overgeneralizing, so please bear with me, right? Three models, or at least three types of digital banks are making money, or at least we can. One who are closely plugged into a ecosystem already. Kakao is one example in Korea, yes. Right? Does very well, tick in the box. The second model is digital banks which have had the time to evolve over a period of time and have created sort of, call it banking as a platform play. Tinkoff being the example that comes to mind. Shouldn't be talking about Russia these days, but there we go. I think it is. I think it launched in 2005 or 6, and then I think somewhere down the line it sort of started making money, and it continues to make money. The third have been more specialized, where they have a unique tech. The best one which comes to my mind is Oak North in the UK. They broke even very, very quickly, right? As a matter of fact, they have even monetized their technology platform and started back. You seem to be a bit of a hybrid, if I may say, of the three models, right? Because you are playing the ecosystem game, but you're not necessarily plugged in like a Kakao, right? You do want to stress on having, technology first, and obviously you're investing in it, and you're looking at DeFi, so you're looking to be at the cutting edge of banking. Correct. If I may call it. How do you make money?
Okay, so that's a great point, and you're absolutely right. We are hybrid, and I think you look at the advantage we have or the benefit we have. We have really created three businesses. Okay. The first one is retail, and the retail, as you know, profitability is going to take longer, because it's about the first few years. If you take the Alibaba model, first 4 years you acquire clients, then you start monetizing, and after 7 years you really improve on the ROE, right?
Yep.
For us, we may have an accelerator, because if you look in UAE, the employees of our shareholders, and I'm not saying they're all going to come and be obliged to come with us, but it's already like around 500,000 people in the market. So it's give us some opportunity.
That's a good number.
But still, it will be slower than a corporate bank. Corporate bank side, and this is the beauty of here with the license we're having. The license here in UAE, you don't have a digital bank license. So we have to apply for exactly the same license as a full bank. So we can do, and we have the same capital requirement, 2 billion dirham. So we can as well tap into the corporate side. And corporate side is obviously bigger ticket size, profitability should come faster.
Definitely.
Okay.
If you're doing it right, it should.
If we do it right, it should. And the last business we have is a bank in a box, right? So what we have created is really like all our application can be redeployed in a cloud very quickly, right?
Okay.
85% of the application can be redeployed in a few hours. Then you have the 10% that can be redeployed in a couple of weeks, and the last maybe a few applications will need 5 weeks. But in 5 weeks in total, you can recreate the bank anywhere. But not only that, not only the technology, but also the blueprint of the technology. Also, we have mapped in an enterprise architecture tool. We have been mapping everything from customer journey, data flow, technology application, policies, risk, what is automated, what is not automated. So if you have both sides of this, you have the full blueprint of a bank. And that's also a model that we would like to be able to replicate, either directly under our own name in some market, or through franchise or white labeling in some market. And we notice a lot of interest on this.
Well, I would imagine.
Because there are a lot of tier 3, tier 2 banks, right? We don't necessarily have the money to do a huge traditional digital transformation, but are kind of okay to get this.
This meeting could not be. This is like it's just I guess it's a meeting of the stars. Just before I came into this room to talk to you, I was talking to a fairly large banking as a service provider out of the US, right? Who's very interested in Middle East and Africa, and the conversation was, we don't need another bank out here with a balance sheet. What we really need is the technology that you have to provide, which can, and the stack that you have, right, which can allow for several use cases or a full-fledged bank. And I do think that is fantastic, because if you are building something which is best in class, then why not take it to other markets where others can benefit, and so can you. And with that, you kind of shift the market along.
And we have done that from day one, because previously when I did a bank in India and after I was asked to do the same in Indonesia, we have not done it exactly like this.
Okay.
So this time we make sure we document everything very precisely. And we have built when you buy a bank in a box,
I like the bank in the box.
From a technology provider, when you open the box, when the technology meet the compliance, something missing. When you meet risk, something missing.
It's different.
So right now we had the luxury to be able to build it with compliance people, with operation people, with risk people. So all the components in there are very well documented as well, all the way to policy unit. So 85% of what you have can be redeployed in any country, we believe, right? So what will be different is onboarding usually can be different. Payment gateway, sometimes you have local payment
You've got to localize
platform.
it, yeah.
And reporting to central bank, which are usually different. But all the rest working inside the box should work exactly the same way.
It should work. Now, you started answering the question on day one, right? And I do want to ask you this question, and so please feel free to take the fifth if you don't want to answer it.
Yes.
But tell me, because it's part of your secret sauce, so you know, so with all due respect, I'm taking liberty here. For digital banks, right, or native digital banks, what are the kind of things, in addition to what you've just mentioned, should the banks get right in the early days? And I call it day one or day zero, right? So that they are able to start building something which has, you know, it does need to have the flexibility to pivot, because life will always not go as planned. But it also gives them sustainability. So what are the sort of Lego bricks here?
So the Lego bricks, I will answer right away, is really about what has to be going right? I'm looking at it in three different phases: acquire, engage, and transact. Okay. So the first point is to be able to acquire clients. So you need to come up with some products that are going to be able to attract your client. Then you need to be able to get the client engaged with the platform, what they can find. So usually we need to add some PFM, personal finance management, good analytics, where you are going to come up with very relevant offer to people, be able to find the best product with them. And after, the last point is how you get sent. Once you have the engagement, people come here to transact, right? To do transaction and potentially get loans and so on. So all this has to work well with obviously a very robust system and platform. And you need as well to be able to, when we talk about digital, we shouldn't forget about human, right? So
I was going to ask.
So are we able, because if something goes wrong, you need to be able to address the issue raised by the client, and they should be able to reach you. So we have a call center, right? And working with chat, but we make sure that we give the right tool to the people to be able to answer any client question. So we have a 360-degree view, real time. So we put it in a top data platform. I'd say it's really real-time information about the client activity, so the people are able to answer. But also, obviously, good design where the opportunity for question is limited. So very often people call to know where is the transaction, etc. So if you have built a journey where they can see an app where is the transaction, you limit the opportunity for questions. And last point is to make sure we have the right people as well who are going to be in the call center. So we do selection of people who have judgment, because usually when you reach a call center is because it may not be really script, right? The answer. You need someone who make a judgment call and who is empowered to take a decision. And for that, we hire people coming from, for example, Apple, and we ask them, okay, what kind of difficult things you had to do when you talk to a client online? And some people say, for example, when I remember an interview, or one day I have to explain to someone who was 85 years old how to use an iPad, right, on a phone. So this is the kind of people we really want to have to be able to support.
Let me ask on the other side, of the human side. So that's great on the consumer-facing side. There's a lot of technology involved. There's a lot of development involved. There's a lot of coding involved, right? I tend to get two schools of thought, especially in this market. One say that, there is talent out here, but talent is not managed well, not nurtured well, and therefore we're not able to get the best out of it. Others are very clear to say that actually the talent is not around, right? We're still dependent on getting this talent from outside, And it isn't easy because actually some of the markets which were places where you went hunting for talent, they're booming themselves, right? So actually attracting talent. Which side of the spectrum are you on? Is talent on, if I may call it, the back end a problem? Is that something you focus on? Is it a top table agenda?
Talent is very key. I think one of the most difficult part of building a digital bank is to find the right people to do it, because again you need to combine two kind of DNAs, right? And so there are resources in this market. We can find quite a lot of people. We can, yes.
Oh, that's good. And that's largely because of the brand you have, or is it that you're doing things differently?
It's a combination. I think it's a brand we have. It's also, giving on a project, giving as well freedom to people, right, to develop. And always take the example, when we have been able to get for some time the people coming and working for a few years, 3 years already, right, in Zand, in the building of Zand. And people coming from company top GAFAs kind of company, and they stay, right? Usually, at least I've been staying for 3 years now.
Yeah, that's good.
In a bank, a traditional bank is first of all very difficult to attract them, and if you bring them in, they say 6 months, because after they notice, okay, it's all very corporate, bureaucratic, too rigid. I cannot do what I do. And I just want to take an example. When I start at the beginning, the first digital bank, I hired people from the bank, right? The best people. And they told me, oh, I want to work in this because it's like a startup. I want a little bit more freedom. I want to be able to do my things properly. And at the same time, I was hiring people coming from a GAFA's kind of environment, and they were saying, I like GAFA, but I want a little bit more structure. But after 2 months, you have the guy who are telling you, I want freedom. The guy is coming from bank. After 2 months, they say, there is not enough structure. I don't understand my KPI. What are my goals? Who is my boss, etc. And the guy coming from the GAFA saying, oh, it's a little bit too rigid. And then you say, okay, now it's time to set up an organization properly. And the guy who are telling you, oh, I don't understand my KPI, I don't understand who is my boss. When you start putting an organization chart in place, they say, oh, but I'm not reporting to you anymore. I want to. So, you never, it's a balancing act, constantly balancing act. And what matters, I think, is obviously people having the right level of experience, but of course, the knowledge of being able to code. But what is the most important is the attitude. Yeah. Are you going to be able to blend with this organization? Are you going to be able to deliver? Because when you have to learn, you have the basic, and you have the appetite to grow and to learn and to do. I think many people can do it.
No, and I agree. And I for me, the key takeaway, digital bank or not, people matter.
People matter,
right? And I think to me that's a great summary. I'm going to ask you one last question. I'm going to take you out of the world of Zand for a bit. I'm very keen to hear about your venture capital foray.
Yeah.
So TGV4, right?
Yes.
I know we've overrun,
yeah.
But tell us a little bit about what is it that you're doing? What are the type of companies you're investing in?
Yes.
What's the investment philosophy behind it? I'm sure we can go onto the website and check all of that. But since you're here,
so it's a great question, and I became a GP on this by accident, right? Because like 3-4 years ago,
in life, everything good happens by accident.
I wanted to understand all this metaverse and so on, right? So I started investing with these guys, and we were not many. Maybe 10 at the beginning. And we started investing in a company like Animoca. I don't know if you know now, they do like NFT on sports. They started at the beginning when the beginning was to...
I do buy the NBA NFTs.
Yeah, so that's provided by Animoca, right? Okay. CryptoKitties. They start with these kind of things, right? They also... we also invest in a company called Sandbox, which is a metaverse.
Everybody knows.
And coincidentally, so we invest in Sandbox 3 years ago, and now it's coincidentally the VARA, Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority of UAE or Dubai.
Dubai, I think.
Dubai has their head office in a sandbox.
Yes,
so
they do.
And he came last couple of years. He started becoming big, particularly since Facebook started talking about it. We have invested as well in Forge, which is a primary market before IPO, right? When people want to, size did very well as well. So there is a lot of company, but all around blockchain. And as partners, we need to, when we review company, first of all, we need to understand, is it blockchain? What the kind of the founders understand all this. And we have been building this in entertainment. So we have another one, Iconia, which is doing, they found a way to simplify the NFT. When you buy NFTs, can be complex, but you can buy through a card, a credit card, and they are very good at that. So all this company, and I start seeing that everything is coming together now. All this.
So hold your thought, because I've got to add another question.
Yes.
Are we going to see Zand on the metaverse soon?
Yes, it's a high probability. Yes,
it's a high probability, right?
And hopefully with our ecosystem partner as well, so we can follow the client where they go, right? So that will be
and that is the right ethos to have.
Yes,
Olivier, thanks a lot.
Yeah, welcome.
Martin. I really appreciate you coming in.
It was a pleasure.
Right,
thank you.
And really enjoyed the discussion. Actually, I learned quite a few things, and as you can see, I was ferociously and violently taking notes, which I will definitely go back and look at. So with that, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank everybody who's joined the podcast today. I would recommend that you all hear this show, because I think there was a lot of honesty in the conversation today. We're all waiting for Zand to launch, which is pretty imminent. I think the fact that Zand would be on the metaverse could be a first. I haven't read in any newspaper, so maybe we take the right of it being the first. But thank you all, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.